Hi, I'm Joe Finsternis, and tonight I'm going to be talking to you about a movie called Super. Now, this film was directed by a guy named James Gunn, who also directed the recent Guardians of the Galaxy, or for those of you who don't watch this video until a few years from now, it just came out the weekend that I'm filming this. Now, I could be talking about that, but everyone else is already talking about pretty much everything that needs to be said about has already been said by Philip DeFranco, Jeremy Johns, the B-Movie Bunker, Schmoes Know, Chris Stuckman, SourceFed Nerd. Go check out those channels and see what they have to say if you want a more in-depth review, but if you want my opinion on it, go see it. Put every other current theatrical film aside to go see Guardians of the Galaxy because it is a really fun, kick-ass movie. And then when you're done with that, go see Dawn of the Planet of the Apes if you haven't seen it yet. There you go. Pretty much 3 reviews in one here. Anyway, the first thing that caught my attention with Super was just how huge the cast was. It's sort of this independent, low-budget kind of movie. And the star of the film himself, the main Super, isn't really a huge celebrity. He's this guy named Rainn Wilson. The only movies of his that I know of are The Rocker and House of a Thousand Corpses. He also does some stuff here on YouTube on a channel called Soul Pancake. He does interviews and educational things on there if you want to check that out. But as for the rest of the cast, it includes Liv Tyler, Nathan Fillion, Ellen Page, Kevin Bacon plays the bad guy, Michael Rooker plays one of his henchmen, which is perfect casting, but one nitpicky issue that I have with the film is that Rooker doesn't really get much to do in this film. He's more of a prop than anything. For those who don't know, he's the guy who played Merle on The Walking Dead. So getting into the plot, Super has pretty much the same kind of synopsis as Kick-Ass. I mean, I know that people get irritated when you compare movies to other movies, but it's a reimagination of Kick-Ass, really. It's about an average guy who just gets fed up with the injustice in the world and decides to dress up in a colorful costume and go around town beating criminals up. And his weapon of choice in this movie is a big red pipe wrench that he just smacks them in the face with. Definitely one of the most satisfying moments for me was when this guy was cutting in line. I think it was at a movie theater. I've only watched this movie once, so I'm not 100% on that. I have a shit memory, but he cuts in this really long line, and so our hero just goes and dresses up and comes back with his pipe wrench and smacks him in the forehead. And, you know, regarding the violence of this film, something that I greatly admire about it is that for when it does get bloody, they use practical effects in the film, and it makes a huge difference. You can pretty much feel those hits, but at the same time, you don't really feel sorry for the people getting beat up, at least not for the most part, because, you know, there's a child molester, there's a mugger, there are these drug dealers who get beat up, so it's sick, but it's fun to watch for me. I don't know what that says about me. Anyway, the guy in the film is pretty insane, you know, aside from hitting someone in the face for something as petty as cutting in line. He actually has hallucinations in the movie, which I guess some people will interpret as religious visions and, oh, he's not insane at all, but there's one that involves something that he saw in a hentai video that he had been watching earlier in the film, so I'm going to call them hallucinations. There's a point where he gets a sidekick in the film, played by Ellen Page. She desperately wants to work with him, and she's even more psychotic than he is. Like, whereas he beats up bad guys and doesn't feel bad about it, she'll actually cheer over it and jump up and down. And whereas, you know, our guy doesn't want to kill anyone, he just wants to hurt them really badly. She actually wants to go straight for the jugular and take people's lives. It's pretty insane. But yeah, it's a pretty interesting, weird, funny little movie, and it has a lot more heart to it than I expected as well. I actually found myself sort of identifying with the main character, not because I suffer hallucinations or beat people over the head for cutting in line, but there are just little moments where I found myself identifying with him, and I genuinely felt sorry for the guy. Although another nitpicky thing that I'm going to have to point out is a certain character dies in the film, and you're supposed to feel really sad. It's supposed to be this big emotional moment, but that character wasn't around long enough for the audience to really get attached to them, and I was shocked by their death, but I could imagine some viewers actually being relieved by it. So, anyway, one more thing that I'd like to get to here is this movie officially made me stop trusting Rotten Tomatoes, both the critics and the audiences, because I looked up the percentage right after I was done watching the movie, and it's rotten on that site. Both critics and audiences, for the most part, hated it, and I don't know why. I mean, obviously it's not perfect. I've pointed out the little flaws that I saw with the movie, but it's really entertaining. In fact, I even liked it more than the first Kick-Ass. Once again, sorry for making the comparison, but that's just how I feel about it. Anyway, if you like the concept, if it sounds interesting to you, if you're a fan of this guy's most recent work, then you should definitely go look for Super and check that out. Anyway, that's all I have to say. I hope you have a good night. Thanks for watching.